The book is called Game Change. The authors are here with us live this morning. John Heilman, political correspondent for New York Magazine. Mark Halperin, senior political analyst for Time. Welcome to you both. And why don't you begin by weighing in on the controversy you kicked up. Mark, start with you. Harry Reid's comments, no big deal or a firing offense?
Well, look, that's not for us to say. What we've done is try to write a book of history. Harry Reid played a huge role in this campaign. A lot of focus on the comments he made about race. The bigger story, as far as we're concerned, is the fact that the reason he was talking about Barack Obama so early was because he wanted to stop Hillary Clinton. Publicly, he was neutral. The inside story of what happened in the campaign was Harry Reid, other big Democrats, wanted to stop Hillary Clinton, and they said, we're going to be for Barack Obama. That's why he called Barack Obama down to his office. That is one of the surprising
things you all point out. A lot of senior Democratic senators who are publicly supporting Hillary Clinton actually privately promoting Barack Obama. But one more controversy on this, John. A lot of Senator Reid's supporters have claimed that these were off-the-record comments, never intended for publication, suggesting you all broke your word to the senator.
George, we did over 300 interviews for the book. We did them with more than 200 people. All the interviews were conducted on deep background. We did no off-the-record interviews, and we have burned no sources in this book.
So absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Let's move on then to some other revelations in the book. One of the themes of the book is that the disconnect between the public image of a lot of the candidates and their spouses and their actual private behavior, and it's most inflammatory in the case of Elizabeth Edwards. I want to show a little bit of an excerpt here of the book. You say that what the world saw in Elizabeth, a valiant, determined, heroic every woman, what the Edwards insiders saw, an abusive, intrusive, paranoid, condescending, crazy woman. You call it the lie of St. Elizabeth.
It was one of the most striking things. There's so many things throughout the book where we were shocked, even given our knowledge of politics. We were surprised at what we learned in the course of reporting the book. And this was one of the biggest things. And it's a striking, as you say, a striking variance between her public image and the private reality. But I would say it was very much the consensus opinion among everyone in the Edwards orbit. Even people who were incredibly sympathetic to Elizabeth had this point of view about her.
And even before she was stricken with the recurrence of the breast cancer, one of the other things you point out in the whole Edwards story, of course, we've now learned that Senator Edwards was conducting an affair basically throughout the entire campaign, probably fathered a child. And a lot of Edwards insiders, Mark, and you even say reporters covering the campaign, knew something about this.
Well, reporters stayed away from it. It's an interesting case. We think at this day and age when there's so much out there, so much media, the standards are so low that everything gets reported. In fact, in the case of John Edwards and some of the other stories we write about in the book, even though reporters had an inkling, even though a lot of insiders had inklings, a lot of this stuff stayed secret, didn't impact the campaign, and now it's just coming out in our book.
So you all didn't sit on anything you could have reported in the campaign?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Let's talk about something else between Vice President Biden and Barack Obama. A fair amount of tension late in the campaign that hasn't been reported before. You talk about in September, Joe Biden being on the bus, hanging out around with the reporters. Here's what it says. Biden had been hanging around with the reporters, running his mouth about how he was more qualified to be president than Barack Obama. And you say that this created a real chill between Barack Obama and Joe Biden that took weeks, if not months, to solve.
Yeah, word got back from the plane that Biden had said this thing, got back to Chicago, and there was always had been concern that Biden would talk too much and would say the wrong things. As soon as that happened, that was the moment when they cut back Biden's access to the press, and it was the beginning of this rift that opened up to the point where when Biden said the thing in Seattle about how he would be tested, like at some point early in his administration, be tested, this young president would be tested, that was the thing that really blew the rift wide open with Obama saying, how many times is Biden going to say something stupid on a conference?
But the Biden office says you didn't even check with them on these quotes, and that the relationship is as strong as it could possibly be.
Well, the relationship now is pretty good, in part because after this big blow-up, as we report in the book, they did have kind of a coming back together. Biden didn't realize initially why Obama was so angry with him. He was told by some of his staffers, you know what, you better make this right. They came together and they started to build towards what we see in the White House. In terms of the challenging of not checking with them, believe me, we talked to plenty of people around Joe Biden about the facts in the book. Those facts, those stories are accurate, just like everything else is. They didn't challenge anything specific.
One more on that point. Lots of revelations about Sarah Palin. I asked Liz Cheney about one of them yesterday. You write that Vice President Cheney thought that this was a reckless choice. I asked her about that yesterday. Liz, there's one other revelation in this book. There are many, but one of them is that your father, former Vice President Cheney, when he heard about Sarah Palin being picked, thought it was a reckless act by John McCain. Is that true?
No, that's not true. It's not accurate, no.
It is accurate. You know, it's great to have really interesting stories. From our point of view, the best thing is to have really interesting stories that are also true. That's another thing, like everything else in the book.
So you stand behind everything so
Absolutely.
far. One final question. The love story between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing.
I mean, look, it was astonishing to us. We did not know how much Hillary Clinton had been enamored of Obama back in 2004. You know, she'd held fundraisers for him. She'd gone to Chicago. She'd said, you know, there's a superstar in Chicago. He was the kind of candidate that if she had not been running, she and her husband would love to have had supported in 2008. They then obviously fell out in a profound and deep and bitter way over the course of the campaign. But in the end, they come back around together and make a partnership that, again, has worked incredibly well over the course of the last year.
Okay, John Howman, Mark Halpern, thanks very much. Did you plan on the book to come out on your birthday?
Yes, part of the entire master plan of the release of the book, because I like to get presents.
Well, happy birthday. To read an excerpt from Game Changed by Mark Halpern and John Howman, you can go to abcnews.com/books.